Hello, everyone. Good evening, and welcome again to Level Up Talk Show. I'm your host, Everton, along with my co-host to my left, Coach Oliver,
Yes, sir.
and
Thank
to my
you.
far right, my buddy Rob.
Hello, good evening.
And today's special returning guest, Rob, is here again today. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you.
We're going to talk tonight. We're going to pause a little bit on fatherhood and take a break on that. We're going to talk about motherhood, the impact of being raised by a mother versus a father, and how that impacts us as men today. So, Coach, let's jump into the conversation, guys.
Yes, it's very interesting. I was just having a side conversation about nervous system
Yeah.
or a nervous system and the things that we have challenges with and the things that, it's kind of hard to navigate. This all comes from nervous system of our primary caregivers. In this case, is mothers, because we're always attached to our mothers, right? So the first question I will ask is, what is one thing your mother gave you that impacts you today, if you can identify that, really impacts you today?
Good, Rob.
All right, I can go first. When I think about my mother, the first thing that comes to my mind is courage. You know, I think she was a very courageous woman. She immigrated from Jamaica, went to the U.S. on her own, and then eventually immigrated to Canada, and with a vision of making a better life for her two sons. And when I look back on that, I think that took tremendous courage and a fearlessness that, she had to overcome. And that's something that I definitely have inherited from her. I live very much the same way, with the fearlessness, the courage for the unknown, because I saw that in my mother.
Nice. How about you?
I was raised by my grandmother, so I'm going to say that I seen her as my mom. So she would be my mom in that sense. I was raised by her from I was 2 years old. And what I saw in my grandmother, who, in a sense, I would say my mom, is strength. Never complain about anything. It doesn't matter what we had. Growing up in Jamaica and have certain limitations, but she never complained about anything. Whatever we had was enough.
Make do.
Yeah, and that's when I saw that, and today when I look at what we have today and how we complain, and we have so much, I feel ashamed. So I would say her strength, and from that is just her. And you say courage, I say her strength, and not complain about anything. Whatever we get, she was grateful for it and made it work.
For me, my mom, I would say that she's an overcomer, and her resilience. My mom felt like she was the black sheep of her family growing up. As I was a kid growing up, she worked as a janitor, cleaning houses during the day and offices during the nighttime. And resilience and overcoming, my mom would be so tired, Coach Oliver, that she would be falling asleep on the highway driving at night. And there was this one evening where she got home, stayed awake long enough to get to the driveway. And she fell asleep.
And that was it.
And the car rolled through the garage. And that was the kind of lifestyle my mom had to live for many years to raise me on her own. So resilience, overcoming, and her work ethic, for sure.
Yeah, I can agree with that with my mom and everything here, because it's interesting. We all have so much similarities. When I hear each one of us talk, just describing my mom. Quickly, my mom had an accident, so she has one hand, right? And I was around when she had that accident, and it wasn't a car accident. And we get into that after, but one hand. and you will never know. Never know. Every time I go to Jamaica, she's living in Jamaica, I migrate here. And whenever I go to Jamaica, all the men and the women in the area said she's the strongest, even stronger than some men. You'll never know she has one hand. Yeah, yeah. And as kids, we like always forgot she has one hand because she just move like, literally, taking the pot off because her hand cut off here, and she'll take the pot like she has two hands, like it just move. So it's resiliency for me.
Yeah.
It's resilience for me.
Would you say that that is a common vein in that moms using what they have and overachieving? Would that be a way to say it? For
100%.
example, my mom didn't have very much education, but still in Canada, she started her own company. You know what I mean? And one of the largest cleaning companies in Ontario for its particular sector, with very minimal education.
Yeah.
Whether it's one hand, minimal education.
So was your mom and dad, did you have a mom and dad together?
No, my parents separated when I was 5 or 6 years old.
6 years.
Yeah. So I was raised
Just
primarily
about
by
my
mom.
story.
Yeah.
Yep.
How about you, Rob? Did you have both parents together?
My parents never married. They were both 19 when I was born, and they lived separate lives. So my mother was present for the most part, and my dad was absent for the most part.
Yep.
I too had the benefit of spending some time with my grandparents as well. So I was raised by a village, I guess you could say. My grandparents, my grandmother, grandfather, and also my aunts and uncles.
That's my story.
Grew up a part to your
Sure.
question.
Yeah.
How do you think that impacts us as men today? Just looking back, because again, on this platform here, we're raised mostly by our mom.
Yes. Yes. And grandparents. Yep. Yep.
So how do you think that shaped us as men?
I mean, that's a great question, and quite I don't know. I'm anxious to hear what you guys have to say, but what I would say is I've recently, maybe in the last 3 or 4 years, started to explore the impact of upbringing, and although grandparents, aunts and uncles were positive, mom was positive, but there were some missing pieces. There were some gaps. I'll give you an example. I recently sort of reflected on the fact that my mother was absent for about 5 years. So here you have the primary caregiver, as you mentioned earlier, the nurturer, during the formative years, which are the critical years of your life, suddenly is absent. What does that do to a boy, to a man?
Correct.
There's some impact there. And I know we're not here today to crucify mothers, but oftentimes mothers are celebrated, and they should be. But I think in my case, when I started to do this reflection, I realized that there were some areas, some missing pieces that my mother probably wasn't even aware of. But I'm now starting to discover that, wait a minute, if mom was absent for 5 years, who nurtured you during those years? And were you missing that? And how does that shape you in terms of connecting and bonding to the first significant female in your life? And how does that set you up for future relationships? So I think there's some impact there, but
Big time.
To your point earlier, I don't necessarily, I'm not there where I've connected the dots yet. I'm in that process. I hope that makes sense.
Yes, yes, oh, for sure, it makes sense. And so let's piggyback off that. Did you feel emotionally safe when she's around? Anyone can answer this, and I'll take a stab at it too. Did you feel emotional safe around your mother?
Yes, I felt 100% emotionally safe around my mother, despite her busy work schedule and being absent. I think just like how dads, we live based off of how we were raised, and that's why I think moms do the exact same. So mom's perspective of showing me love was to work, and provide. And that meant that I was home alone 90% of the time, from the age of 10. So moms definitely do impact us as men, for sure. I got stories for sure.
Looking back on it, if I should answer that, looking back now and see how, in what way, I would say in terms of just making sure that I was okay. My grandmother would always ensure that I have what I need at the time. We weren't doing hugs. We weren't saying I loved you. I didn't know what that was, to be honest with you. I never had anyone told me that they loved me growing up. I never had anyone said, good job. It was a tough love. It was you grew up and you're grateful that they gave you what they gave you because that's all they had to give you.
Correct.
And what they had to give us was go to work and provide clothing, food, and that's how I think my grandma showed me love. Mm-hmm. But it's not now where my son now love him is like he wants to hug sometimes. My daughter come over and just hug me sometime randomly. And she'll call me, Dad, I love you. So I'm experiencing something different. So when she called me and said, I love you, Dad, on the phone, and said, I love you, it's new to me because I never had that.
And it's not random, just so you know. And, I have a different spin on it. My mom, she was there, but she wasn't there. So being on a farm for 16 years, and huge farm, where we supply restaurants with meat and, all the farm trucks come to our house. So it's always being busy. She just want to make sure there's shelter and food. That's her parenting. And not that we, trashing or talking about moms, but we're talking about emotional feelings and emotional connection. It wasn't there. So I remember just before, before I got married, we were talking on the phone and I said, I love you. And she didn't know what to do. She hung up the phone. Wow. Yeah, she hung up the phone. And it's the first time I've ever said that to her because I wanted to change the narrative. And it was tough. Tougher for me, but it was like really tough for her.
Can I say something, Paul? Do you know, because I wasn't raised by my mom, my grandmother, so when I got older, I was trying to build a bond with my mom. And I started saying mom, I started calling her mom when I was like 31. I could never say mom before because I didn't understand what that was because she wasn't that person to me, but I loved her. And I remember one day on the phone talking to her, and I wanted to say I love you, and I couldn't say it. It took me a while. And eventually when I said it, I don't know why it was like this big mountain to say I love you to my mom.
Yeah.
I finally said it, and it felt like...
It felt so good.
It felt good.
Right.
But the build-up was like, this is crazy. Just one word, say it.
Yeah.
But I couldn't. It was a build-up to say it because I was trying to be intentional about a word that I didn't experience, but I know I had to do it for me. And it was the best thing.
I want to go back for a second to the question you asked about did you feel safe?
Emotionally safe.
Emotionally safe. When you asked that question, what I thought of was a period in my life when my mother was absent. I think around age 5, she left the country. I stayed back with my grandparents, which is very common for a lot of Caribbean kids.
Correct.
So during that time, there was a disconnection, and then when I reunited with her, I remember feeling a little bit strange. That time that we had missed, I don't know if we ever were able to make up for that time. I don't think you can catch up.
You can't.
Right. And I think what you're describing is that distance that you missed, and now it's almost like you're living with someone who's somewhat of a stranger, and you're not quite sure how to, there's a gap there. Is it mom? Is it, what do you, how do you, there's a
Right.
discomfort.
Correct.
I don't know if I'd use the word unsafe, but it's a discomfort.
Yes.
The whole emotional
Yes.
attachment.
Yes.
I can speak to that too. I can speak to that, and unfortunately, in an unfortunate way. As a teenager, I made poor life decisions at some times where the relationship that was once very close between my mother and I really faded away. And I remember this one afternoon I went to give my mother a hug, and she retracted from me because it had been so long that mother and I had hugged or made any sort of connection that I was a foreigner, a stranger. And I was probably 17 or 18 years old. I still remember that to this day like it was yesterday. I have a question for the guys.
Yeah.
Well, how did your mothers or the female in your life, how did they show you tough love? How did they discipline you? How did they get you onto the right track while we were being knuckle-headed young men and boys?
Mine was easy. In Jamaica, it's pretty easy. Man.
Easy?
So you know what?
Mine was easy.
No, I mean easy as in they show me tough love pretty easy by.
Oh.
Let me give you some context.
Yeah.
I want to frame this in for the moms right now who are dealing with boys where they don't feel like they're equipped to discipline a young man because there isn't a man in the home. So I'm looking at it from the angle, from a lens of a woman in the house who's trying to raise a young man who wants to discipline him and set him straight. How did you guys experience those moments with those women in your life?
I would say what my grandmother did was she showed me tough love in terms of if I made a mistake, she wouldn't. I think nowadays, if we cater too much in terms of, how can I put this? She allowed me to feel and to understand that I made a mistake and there are consequences to it. But at the same time, she would not punish me in the moment when I made a mistake. She would always allow me to go away. And one rule that my grandma had was she never disciplined me when she's angry. Never did that. I must say that she never correct. When she's angry, if I did something in a moment, she never disciplined me in the moment. She let me go away, or she'll go away, and then an hour later she'll come back and address it.
That's good.
Because in the moment, sometimes we say things that we don't want to say, and do things out of anger, not love.
That's good.
You see, to that point, think about it. Single moms, right? They're already frustrated because the dads are not around.
Overwhelmed.
Because back then, it's easier to say, wait until dad comes home or, dad's going to deal with you, right? Whether it's wrong or right, that's. So that frustration build up in the sense that now when she's dealing with you and she's frustrated, that's double the frustration. So, just because I understand how things work, they're not intentionally, because to your point, I gone through some tough punishment. But now that we're looking back at it, they had to do what they had to do based on the situation they're in. And they're frustrated. Obviously, they didn't have resources at their fingertips like now, right? But they're frustrated, so they had to do what they had to do.
Yeah. My mother called the police on me when I was 19 to ask me to leave the home.
Yep.
Yeah.
Reaction.
Yeah, exactly.
She got to the end of her rope.
Yeah,
And
the back is against the wall.
that's it. Yeah.
Because it's never, go ahead.
I was going to say to your question, mothers today may not use the discipline that we got,
Correct.
and it may not work because you have,
Different rules, different laws.
different system now that you're living in.
Yeah.
So what I would say to that is, I would say, as a mother who might be raising a son, I think you have to be consistent. You have to lay down boundaries and stick with them. Because although it might be hard for you to do that, you have to be thinking about what's best for the child. Remember when I was growing up, one of the things I heard a lot was, this hurts me more than it's going to hurt you.
That's the quote.
And as a parent, sometimes it's painful for you to lay down boundaries and structure, but that's part of what a parent does.
Amen.
And even though it might be difficult to do that, you're doing it for the best interest and the future of the child.
Yeah.
That's what I would say.
Preach.
Yeah,
Also
and
respect. One of the things that I grew up respecting my grandma because you knew what the boundaries were, and she's my grandmother, provides for me, but she wasn't my friend. So I know what the boundaries were.
That's good,
I
too.
think sometimes when we become too friendly, and then it's hard to correct.
That's good.
That's a great point. Sometimes as parents we want to be friends.
correct.
That's not your role. Your
Correct.
role is not to be your
Right,
child's friend.
right, right,
It's to
right.
raise them up and to make sure sure they, you know, turn out to be a responsible adult. And if you're going to be their friend, that might be a challenge for you to do that.
Yes. And, you know, like, there's not a doubt that we all feel loved. But with us emotionally not understood as boys growing up. And can you imagine, and I think you touched on it earlier, in terms of this affects, this impact us on how we communicate with our loved ones, how we deal with relationships. Because I'm still, today, at 53, trying to figure out what love is. Yep. Married at 35, and you know, I knew that I need to embrace this because I'm trying to, you know, stop that cycle and embracing it to my knowledge, but not understanding what love is.
Because you talk about the gap. There's a gap that's missing that has not filled.
I never seen it.
And here we are trying to do something, but there's a link. There's a puzzle that's missing, and we're trying to put a puzzle together, and there's missing pieces in the puzzle.
It's tough.
It's real talk.
I have a quick story to share. When I was growing up, I was 19 years old, and I was blaming a lot of my choices on not having a man to raise me and to be an example to me. And I said it to somebody, and the gentleman took me aside and he said, you know, don't think of it that way. He says, look at it this way. He said, God removed your father from your family for a reason. And the gentleman explained to me that now I was a living example of my mother's influence, and that my father had been removed from my family so that I wouldn't be influenced by his lifestyle or whatever he'd been living. And that really changed my life as a young man growing up, because I really did blame the absence of my father. And on that same side, I didn't celebrate the presence of my mother enough. I didn't celebrate the presence of my mom enough.
Because I don't think society allows us to
You know.
do that. I think it teaches us that we focus so much on the missing part that we don't focus on what we have.
Correct.
I'm looking back now when my grandma was a great woman. I see who I am today, and people say you are this way, and I can link it back to, oh, that's my grandmother. That's how she was. That's how she raised me. To be caring, to be thoughtful, show empathy, look out for others.
Yeah.
And that was her.
Yeah.
Always see things for what it's not. That was her.
Maybe I can ask an interesting question.
Yeah.
How do you guys feel your mom's presence or absence affected the way you navigate the relationship?
Big time.
Did your mother's model affect the way you interact?
That's what I was alluding to. It affected me big time.
How did it?
Because, first of all, my dad wasn't there. I think he left when I was about 2, came to Canada. So, and my mom never bring a man to their home because my grandmother was like, no, that's not the thing. So she's always gone. So I don't know what that looks like.
So your mom was emotionally absent,
Correct.
unavailable.
Right.
Right.
Correct.
So what does a young man, internalize about relationship from that experience?
I'm thinking that's normal. So that normal thing about what is affectionate is, what is showing love is. What is love? How do you show love? That was missing. So I'm here thinking, okay, that's normal. So there's no feeling, there's no empathy there. Yes, I can give you a kiss because I know that's the right thing to do, but there's no feeling.
Yeah.
So after a while, my wife started thinking, okay, you don't care about me. Because then you're not showing no feeling. I don't know what that looks like.
So are you saying we turn off our emotions? We kind of
We-
turn the tap off?
Oh, for sure. We turn it off. Because
Turn it
there's
off.
nothing there
Turn it off or turn it up way too high. Either way, to compensate for the absence.
to compensate.
Yeah.
and then it doesn't look like true love, right? So it's very, very tough. Still trying to navigate that.
My story is a little kind of similar because my mom was physically absent because she was working, but was very loving in her communication to me. So I grew up yearning the physical presence of my mom, right? Which affected me in relationships, right? Because I was then always looking for like the physical. Physical meant love to me, right? So mom's presence and absence definitely was impactful for me.
And you know what? Sorry. And you know what? Then say eventually you start get some sort of emotions or you start open up to your partner. Then they kind of see that as weakness. It damages you because you don't know to navigate that. You didn't have no role model. There's no course. There's no, like you shut down. Then it's a form of, then you won't open up. You're not gonna get emotional because you know back in the days, men don't cry. Toughen up. All these things we heard. So we shut down, and that impact the relationship
Do you guys think society treats us differently
big time.
if we're
Sorry.
raised by our mom versus both parents, our dad? Being raised by a single mom, do you think society treats us differently?
Oh, absolutely. I think you're viewed differently. I think, particularly in Western
Yep.
society. I mean,
Yep.
I lived in Europe. I lived in the Caribbean, and growing up in the Caribbean, it was part of the culture and it wasn't unusual that somebody would be raised by mom.
Correct.
But many of us immigrated to North America, Western society, and all of a sudden you're like, whoa, I'm the only guy here that was raised by a single parent. And you are seen as deficient.
And you act different. You move different.
Right. And I don't think people maybe express that to you, but you get the sense, you get the feel, you get the vibe. that you are
Correct.
treated As, well, Everton, poor you. You know what I mean?
Yep.
You
Yep.
know what I'm
Yep.
talking about?
Yep.
I think that maybe to your point that there's almost like this expectation that an individual who comes from a broken home like that, if they fail and stumble in life, it's expected.
Yeah.
Maybe that.
You're always expected to fail.
Yeah.
In some sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And I see it more so in the school system. I say it because of the school system.
Mm.
I see a lot in the school system that you're perceived different when a child has a mom that's a single parent versus a co-parent. I see it differently. You give them more respect and more credence. And which is so because I look around, I'm seeing great men here on this platform who are raised by a single mom, and you guys turn to be great individuals.
Right.
So, intentional, right? So the narrative saying that we can't be raised by a single parent is not true, right? I think that if you choose, right, I think that if you listen to the noise enough and don't pay attention to some of the benefits or some of the tools that were given by our moms, and we were given some great tools, right? But instead we focus on what we didn't have. I didn't have my father, so therefore, but you had your mother. And she was working 3-4 jobs to put food on the table.
Preach.
Then why are you home sitting there watching TV and playing video games?
Yeah.
You had someone that was working
Yep.
24/7.
Yep.
A model. What's your excuse? My dad wasn't here. But you had your mom. That showed you what it was to get up and go to work.
Yep. And to provide.
And to provide.
It's interesting as I listen to everybody today that, fathers bring certain things to a man, but mothers bring certain things. And what I heard today is mother is the one that brings emotional stability and teach you how to express that emotional side, that love side. And if that doesn't happen, that's the missing piece. I don't think dad is going to be the one I don't think dad's the one that's really going to go to nurture that part of you. Because as you mentioned at the start, that mothers are the primary nurturers. And part of the nurturer's role is to develop your emotional
Check.
state.
Yep.
And I just discovered that, just through conversation today.
One thing I want to kind of leave with you guys is the nervous system. The nervous system is so powerful because, obviously you're yelling, shouting, a few hits here, just the way they talk about maybe other people, the way they talk about other race, the way they view themselves, the way they view their grandparents, just the way they handle their day-to-day activity, that's their nervous system passed down to you.
Sorry, guys. I wish we can continue this conversation. We need more time for these conversations, fellas.
We do.
Honestly, I don't think we have enough time because this is so deep and we have so much to go into. I don't think Coach even gets a chance to go into all your questions. So we have to have a follow-up because this is really a moment where we get to put those missing pieces together. So everyone, I want to thank you for tuning to Level Up and hope to see you next week. If you have any questions about the show, please reach out to myself. You can reach Coach Oliver. Coach, where can you be reached?
At Instagram, at Coach Oliver Levy at Instagram. That's where I live.
And also, Level Up is on Instagram now, and it's at Level Up Talk Show. Check it out. Reach out to us. And if you have any questions at all, we would love to see how we can help you. God bless you. Have a great evening. Stay level up.
Yeah, this is